Hey guys, it's Will here, and I'm back with an Age of Sigmar battle report. Been a while since I've done one of these, but with the new 2017 General's Handbook coming out, and a new thing I want to try out tonight, I thought it was a great time to do it. My opponent tonight is Adam. You may have seen him in the Tale of Four Gamers, and he's going to be bringing his Seraphon army, and I'm going to bring my Stormcast, who have a new addition. That's brought them up to 1500 points, so we're doing 1500 points, and we're going to do one of the new match play missions. So here is my Stormcast army. So down here I've got my Knight Heraldor, and then my General is the Lord Celestant on foot, who's got the Staunch Defender command trait. Then got big block of 10 Liberators with hammers and shields, 5 Judicators with bows, the long bows, and then you've got the Bolt Storm one, or the funky one on the Prime. Then we've got 2 units of 3 Prosecutors. Are they Prosecutors? Yes, yeah, Prosecutors with the hammers, and then 5 Judicators. And then my new toy, just finished him last night, been working on this guy for so long, my Drakesworn Templar. So yeah, the Dragon Rider. Not the command one, the slightly cheaper one, and by slightly cheaper I mean he's only 500 points. But yeah, he's got the armour of Silvered Sigmarite for -1 to hit, and the Starstrike has the Stormwing trait, which allows him to fly over enemy units and do D3 mortal wounds on a 2+. There we go, that is 1500 points of Stormcast. And here is Adam's Seraphon army, or Lizardmen as you might call them. So his general down here is a Skink Star Priest, and he's got Master of Celestial Rituals, something that allows him to reroll his 4+ little buff that he does to everyone else. He's got a Scarvet on a Carnosaur, so that's going to be a real threat. But the majority of his army is this formation here, which is a Celestial Star Host? Eternal Star Host. So we've got the Eternity Warden here, and then 3 units of Temple Guard, 2 of 5 and 1 of 10. And in addition to the buffs he normally gives them, they also get +1 to their save if they're within 10 inches of him. And I think +2 to their bravery, I think, is a standard benefit, and then their weapons, if they've stood still, get D3 damage rather than 1. So really quite a nasty little core to the army there, small but very elite. Then 2 dinosaurs to finish it off. We've got the Stegodon with the big crossbow there, and then the Bastillodon with the big light laser thing that I should know the name of but don't. So 2 very compact armies, and a lot of lizards. There's a lot of lizards over here, and 1 very big lizard over there. Anyway, let's roll up scenarios and see how the army's deployed. So we're all set up and ready to play now. The mission we've rolled up tonight is called Starstrike. And this is similar to the Gift from the Heavens mission from the old General's Handbook. So you start in a fairly standard deployment, and then objectives fall from the skies. This time you get 1 on the centre line and at the end of turn 2, and then turn 3 you get 1 in each player's deployment zone, or in each player's area. So yeah, that should be interesting. Certainly gives a nice bit of balance, and you only need to be have just more models than your opponent within 3 inches, so you don't even need to have like a particularly high number of models. So it should be easy for these 2 small elite armies to grab those objectives. Adam obviously finished up setting up first, because he's got all of these guys that go down as 1 drop for the battalion, and then he's got his artillery type monsters over there with their relatively powerful shooting, and the Carnosaur over here. Popped my Liberators in the middle with my General and my Knight Heraldor, with Prosecutors on each flank, and the Judicators, the Archers, set up in the woods to get some cover from there. Dragon is over here, So he's got a choice of a few different targets to go for, depending on where the objectives go and how Adam moves. And then in the Celestial Realm, I have set up my Retributors, planning to deep strike those, obviously. So, Adam has chosen to go first. He set up way before me with so few drops, and he's going to go first. And yeah, here we go. On to Seraphon, turn 1. Okay, so a very short Seraphon first turn. The whole army just pushed forward at pretty much maximum speed. All of these guys in the middle there, because of the Skink Priest reroll and the battalion ability and being within range of the Eternity Ward, I mean, all these Temple Guard are now sitting on a 2+ armor save, rerollable, with ignoring -1 modifiers, so they are going to be a really tough nut to crack. Other than that, both of these monsters, the Bastillodon and the Stegodon, I really should know that better. I want to say Triceratops and Ankylosaurus, but hey. They both shot for the Prosecutors, but had some really bad luck. I mean, the Bastillodon, I think, gets like 2d6 shots. He rolled a double 1, and then rolled a 2 and a 3 to hit. So, yeah, not going quite so well for him this turn, but yeah, I've managed to survive that, but I don't know how I'm going to crack this army. It's looking so tough to kill. But, start of my turn, I need to roll for my my Retributors coming in from the Celestial Realm on a 3+. It's a 4. Retributors incoming. Okay, so this is the end of my shooting phase. Quite a packed turn, actually. This Stormcast army has a lot of ways to do damage at range. First thing you'll notice is my Retributors came on over here, just 9 inches out from the Bastillodon, looking to charge them in a minute. Rest of the army pretty much moved up. These guys went into the woods over here, and the Stardrake is lining up for a charge on both the Carnosaur and the Temple Guard there. Used my hero ability to give these guys immunity to battle shock for this turn, and then opened up with some damage, that's for sure. Rain of Stars from the Stardrake did a mortal wound to the Carnosaur, and 1 to the Eternity Warden. I think that was it. Oh no, did 2 to the Carnosaur, 1 to the Eternity Warden, and 1 to this far Temple Guard squad. I then did the Trumpet Blast from the Knight Heraldor, and forgot that can hurt my own models as well. So I took a mortal wound on the Liberators, 2 mortal wounds on the Stardrake, and 1 on these Judicators from targeting this hill in the middle, but it did also take some more mortal wounds off the Carnosaur, which has only got 5 left. Has taken 5 wounds in total that turn, none of them without having to make a save. Killed a couple from this Temple Guard unit, 1 from this unit, did a few mortal wounds to the Eternity Warden, and even 1 to the Skink Shaman. I rolled a 6 for the range on that, so that was a huge blast of damage. Other than that, over here, the Judicators and the Prosecutors did a total of 3 wounds to the Stegodon. I was considering targeting the Carnosaur, but with his rerolls to save and ignoring -1 modifiers, I thought, you know what, I'm going to get more damage from the Judicators onto the Stegodon, so I've gone for that. Right, now for the fun part, charges. So, Prosecutors need 9 inches to get into that Bastillodon, which they do not get, only 8. The Stardrake needs 7 for the charge it wants to pull off, and that's only 6. And then the Judicators need an 18 on 3 dice, which they don't quite get, but so no charges succeeded that turn. But now it's on to the second battle round. We'll be rolling for priority again, but first we've got to see where these star fragments land. Much more productive turn for the Seraphon this turn. The first falling star fragment came down right in the centre here, meaning it was an easy pickup for the Temple Guard, which has scored him 2 points this turn, and he takes an early lead. Other than that, the Carnosaur obviously was lining up to charge on the Stardrake, the Stegodon lining up a charge on the Judicators, and the rest of the army just advanced forward slowly, the Bastiladon trying to get away from the prosecutors. Shooting went down really well, managed to do a couple of wounds on the Stardrake from the Stegodon, and then a whole load more from the Bastiladon, meaning it was going into combat already at just under half wounds. He then obviously pulled off the charge, as you can see here, and the Carnosaur continued to do some damage to the Stardrake. He is now on 11 wounds. It wasn't quite enough. The Armour of Silvered Sigmarite really saved my butt there. I think without that I would have a dead Stardrake on my hands. Attacks back weren't so great because he can't use his jaw attack against a model with more than 6 wounds, and he can't use his tail attack against a unit of 1 model because the numbers just don't work. The claws didn't do anything, saved by the armour, but the lance managed to put 4 wounds onto the Carnosaur. So both of these behemoths are still up, but neither of them are in great shape. Other than that, the Stegodon charging into the Judicators had a suitably destructive effect, leaving me with just 3 wounds left in total, the Sergeant, or sorry, Prime, and 1 guy on 1 wound, for no damage back. It was those big horns. The initial charge kind of bounced a bit, but those horns are just nasty. So yeah, 2 points to Adam, and I've got to take a bravery test for the Judicators. So 6. My Judicators are running away, I think. What was that? I'd taken like 3 models lost, so that's 9. Bravery is 6, so yeah, they run away. So with the first outright kill of the game, and the first score, Adam's in a nice position now, but it's time for the Stormcast to strike back. So another very brutal Stormcast turn here. Started off by only moving the prosecutors down the 2 respective flanks. Stardrake was locked in combat, and these guys here, the retributors, moved up, closing in on the Bastiladon. Shooting phase saw massive destruction. The Stardrake called down another rain of stars, which took out the Carnosaur. Didn't even need to swing at him, it was stars. So essentially a meteorite took out the dinosaur. So very apt, I think, there. Also didn't do a lot more. I think did 1 mortal wound to another unit. Actually got 6, but then failed to hit with most of them. It was the Stegodon did a mortal wound too. Other than that, the Trumpet Blast over here did another mortal wound to the Stegodon. And then these guys, I think, didn't actually manage to damage the Stegodon. Their hammers were a little bit unlucky there, and these guys failed to damage the Temple Guard because the Temple Guard still have a damn 2-up rerollable armor save in the open. It's just mental. But the assault phase did see the Stardrake charge into them and 8-1 with his Cavernous Jaws attack, but then everything else fluffed, and he was quickly cut down by their really powerful weapons, even with the Armour of Silvered Sigmarite for -1 to hit. Just the damage that they can put out in that formation is nasty. Got the Retributors in, but thanks to Bastiladon having a save against mortal wounds and reroll on his unmodifiable 3-up armor save, it meant things were pretty tricky, but we did put 3 wounds onto him, so it's a start. Decided not to charge the prosecutors into the Stegodon in the end. I think I'd rather stand back and let him come to me. But yeah, an interesting turn. The 2 biggest monsters on the board are both down. I wasn't really able to close in on this objective because there's no point in charging Liberators at those Temple Guard right now because they're just too tough. I need to get around the back and deal with the Eternity Warden. But yeah, we are now going into the 3rd battle round, so we're going to have another star falling and another roll to see who gets priority. So another really good turn for the Seraphon. We had one of the objectives come down here, but I can't actually see. Yeah, it was about there. I should have marked that properly. I will sort that in a minute. But yeah, the prosecutors were basically on it at that point. And over here we had one come down in his deployment zone there. He then used the new Seraphon ability to teleport 1 unit per turn to teleport these guys into there. Now at least that means they're outside of the buff range, and he did fail to get off his reroll armor saves despite the power being rerollable, but they're still a very tough nut to crack in the centre here. Basically just moved the Temple Guard, one unit of Temple Guard over towards the Retributors and the Bastillodon towards the Prosecutors. Shooting didn't do a lot. I think he killed one Retributor and put a wound on my Knight Heraldor, who he has very much learnt to fear. But then in the assault phase, or the charge phase, the Stegodon got into the Prosecutors and wiped them out for no even chance of damage in return, and he killed another Retributor in combat. And the Retributors completely failed. They're supposed to be my hardest hitting unit, and they did nothing. These damn lizards are just so tough to crack. That has scored him 3 points this turn for that one. 3 points for that one, because it's scored by the turn number, which means that Adam has now got a 8-point-to-0 lead as we head into the third Stormcast turn. Okay, so things were looking pretty dire with 8 points to nothing behind, but I think we may have just turned it around. So pushed my Liberators up, but left enough room for the General's Hammer Cloak to fire through the centre there, and pushed up my Prosecutors to threaten that objective. Then did the Trumpet Blast from the Knight Heraldor at this terrain feature here. Now, there was a risk. I did 2 wounds to my General, and I did another wound to another 2 wounds to the Liberators, killed a guy. But as you can see, it took out the majority of the core of the army here. 3 of the 6 surviving Temple Guard, the Eternity Warden who was giving them all the buffs, the Skink Priest who was the other source of the buffs. Just the mortal wounds that this trumpet can do is just amazing. I'm really pleased with how that's gone today. I then used the Hammer Cloak, which got 4 attacks and killed the last 3 of the Temple Guard. So that was basically the middle of the army taken out, and the Liberators are just within 3 inches of that objective to score me 3 points. Over here, Prosecutors didn't do anything with their shooting because the 2 Temple Guard in there were hunkered down in cover, but they got really lucky on the charge, hit with everything and cut them down. So that's another objective scored. And over here, the majority of the Retributors were killed by the survivors of the Temple Guard, but then the Prime, the only survivor, on a single wound, got 2 hits on 6s with his hammer, doing mortal wounds to the Temple Guard. 2 mortal wounds a pop, last 4 Temple Guard gone. I think things that can do mortal wounds are so strong against this particular army, and I mean, more by luck than design. The Stormcast have loads of ways to do that, so yeah, that's worked really nicely. He is, however, down to a single wound after getting his ass kicked by the Bastillodon. And yeah, this is still the closest thing to that objective, so that could well be scoring next turn. But I've got 6 points, I've taken down all the Temple Guards, and yeah, things have really turned there as we head into the 4th turn. So once again, the Seraphon won priority for the 4th time in a row, and he backed off his Stegodon to claim that objective for 4 points, bringing him up to 12, and then proceeded to shoot out the rest of my army. The Stegodon first went with its javelins and its bow into the Retributor, but failed to kill him. Bastillodon put its javelins into there, but didn't do any damage. But then the big laser beam on the top there rolled an 11 for its shots, which proceeded to kill 5 of my Liberators, who now are in serious need of a leadership test. Only 1 more flees, so that leaves me just on 3 Liberators left. In combat, the Bastillodon finished off the last Retributor, so it's been a bloody battle on both sides, and it's not over yet. That's another 4 points, means we're 12-6, but we're heading into a Stormcast turn where I could be doing some serious scoring. 4th Stormcast turn, and I'm pretty light on options to actually do damage now. I've only really got my heroes that are going to do a lot to these monsters. So I pushed the Knight Heraldor up just into range to blast that building, and my Lord Celestant close enough that his hammer cloak can catch both the monsters. Left the Liberators guarding the objective and the Prosecutors guarding the one at the back, because as much as I'd like to get them in and engage them, I need the 4 points that that objective's going to give me. So they stayed there, scored that. The thunderous blast from the trumpet just did a single wound to the Stegodon this turn, but I did another 2 wounds with the hammer cloak, leaving it just on 2 wounds left. Also, the objectives I scored that turn have brought me up to 14 points, so it's 14-12 to the Stormcast as we head into the 5th battle round. So, Seraphon 5th and final turn. The Stegodon sat just in range of that objective to score him another 5 points, and he then fired his bow, which missed on all accounts. Bastiladon then moved up, and with that searing beam, finally took out that pesky Knight Heraldor. He was rather happy to get rid of him, did just enough damage to finish him off. The Bastiladon's charge and the javelins from the Skinks killed off 1 Stormcast in total, and that has left him sitting on that objective, scoring another 5 points. As we go into the final turn, basically, if the Prosecutors stay there, I need to kill the Bastiladon to win the game, and we'll be back in a minute to see how that goes down. Okay, so it was all about killing the Bastiladon this turn. Lord Celestant moved within 3 inches and then chucked off his hammer cloak, which did 2 wounds to the Bastiladon, leaving it on just 3 wounds. He got off the charge, did 1 wound with his sword. Didn't do any wounds with his hammers. Bastiladon swang back, had some subpar attacking, and only put a single wound on the Liberators. Liberators swung. 2 wounds. Come on, he's got to fail both of these. Nope, just 1 fail. Bastiladon is left alive on 1 wound. And that's just enough to give Adam the win. I was thinking just kill it, get it off the objective. I didn't realise if I'd moved this guy up a bit, he'd have been within 3 inches, and it's number of models, no enemy models. If I'd played that a little differently, I could have just had that there on the last turn, but I spaced on the rules, got focused on killing stuff, and it cost me the game. But that was such a good, fun, close game. So thank you very much, good sir, for a good game. I'll see you guys in a second for the post-game. Now that was a good game. That was really fun to play. Really enjoyed that. The back and forth, one moment it looked like the Stormcast had it, next moment looked like there was no way the Seraphon were going to get beat. Really tough core to his army versus my army, chucking out buckets of mortal wounds left, right and centre, monsters clashing with monsters, meteorites falling from the sky. It was absolutely great fun. Loved that. I think, like I said, I could have had it at the end there if I'd thought about it a bit more, but I was just really into it. I just wanted to kill that damn Bastiladon. It was so hard to kill, but fair play. Well done to you, Adam. You beat me fair and square, and good times. Man of the match really has to go to the Knight Heraldor. That model was just so brutal. It must have killed its points back. Made its points back like 3 or 4 times over. The amount of mortal wounds that was chucking out over the course of the game. I don't know if there's a technical term for an irrational fear of trumpets, but I fear Adam may have acquired it by now. That model was brutal, but by no means the only tough model on the board there. Those Temple Guard with their 2+ rerollable save that ignores -1 modifiers. I was like, how on earth am I going to get through that? Oh yeah, just completely bypass the armour save with mortal wounds, that's how. But really tough army, and I think against the majority of armies that core of lizardmen would just be unbeatable. But thankfully had the mortal wounds both from the Knight Heraldor and also the Lord Celestant, and a little bit of help in the early turns from the Starstrike as well. That was able to crush enough of the centre of his army to give me a fair fighting chance. Speaking of the Starstrike, he was yeah, didn't underperform as much as I feared he might in his first game, but certainly I don't think he didn't live up to his full potential there. In hindsight, the Carnosaur is probably not the best opponent to go one-on-one with. I should have used my superior manoeuvrability to line up a charge against something a bit more appropriate for how the Star Drake is statted and the different ways it can do mortal wounds. But hey, you know, first time using it, and I'll know for next time. But anyway, really enjoyed playing that. Thanks a lot to Adam for giving me a great game, and yeah, we'll see you guys again soon. Bye.